Who is Darkseid? Real name, Uxus species, new god. Homeworld, Apokolips, a hellish war planet. Role, god of evil, god of tyranny, ruler of Apokolips, eternal enemy of freedom. His ultimate goal across almost every era, obtain the anti-life equation so he can erase free will and enslave the entire multiverse. How Darkseid became Darkseid. Uxus's rise. Step 1. Prince Uxus of Apokolips. Uxus is born the second son of King Yuga Khan and Queen Hegra of Apokolips. Older brother Drax is supposed to inherit the throne. Uxus is ruthless and ambitious from day one, always plotting. Step 2. Murdering his brother and stealing the Omega Force, Drax tries to claim a cosmic power source called the Omega Force. Uxus ambushes him, murders him, and takes the Omega Force for himself. The power transforms his body. His skin turns to that rock-like stone, and he renames himself Darkseid. That's the moment he goes from prince to new god of Omega. Step 3. Killing his way to the throne. Darkseid loves a scientist, sorceress named Sully. They have a son, Kalibak. Queen Hegra thinks Sully is a bad influence and has her poisoned. Darkseid's heart basically dies right here. Hegra forces him to marry Tigra, with whom he has another son, Orion. Later, Darkseid gets revenge. He has his ally Darkseid poison Hegra, clearing his way to rule Apokolips alone. From then on, he's absolute monarch of Apokolips, a world of slave pits, fire pits, and endless war. How he became so powerful, big picture. Darkseid's power comes from several layers stacked on top of each other. He's a new god. New gods are already cosmic-level beings. Superhuman strength, durability, immortality, advanced tech, dimension travel. The Omega Force. Omega Effect. Stealing the Omega Force gives him the Omega Effect, a cosmic energy source that massively amps everything he can do and unlocks his famous Omega beams. Millennia of conquest stolen power over eons, he's conquered or destroyed countless worlds, battled or stolen power from other gods and cosmic beings. Highfather, Zeus, Anti-Monitor, old gods, etc. Sai. True form versus avatars. The Darkseid we usually see is just an avatar or projection into a universe. His true form exists outside the multiverse, too powerful to fully manifest in normal reality. When you kill Darkseid, most of the time you're just destroying one body. His true self is still out there. The anti-life equation, he's not always in full possession of it, but whenever he taps it, his threat level jumps to I own your mind and your soul, instead of just I hit hard and shoot beams. And so, he starts as a new god prince, kills his way into the Omega Force, then spends eternity compounding power and becoming a metaphysical concept as much as a person. Darkseid's powers, what he can actually do, core godly stats. As a new god, Darkseid has baseline divine stats, immortality, and agelessness. He doesn't die from old age or disease. Insane strength. Routinely trades blows with Superman and other high-tier beings. Some versions can literally crush planets or gods. Near invulnerability, tanking attacks from Kryptonians, Green Lanterns, gods, and cosmic weapons. Super speed reflexes, enough to tag Kryptonians and speedsters with Omega beams. Super stamina, can fight entire armies and multiple Justice League lineups without tiring. Omega Effect and Omega Beams, his signature power. This is his main cheat code, powered by the Omega Effect, cosmic energy bound to him. Fires from his eyes as Omega Beams that can vaporize or disintegrate matter and people. Hit with concussive force like a cannon. Erase a target from existence. You never existed. Resurrect beings he previously killed with them. They can bend around corners, change direction mid-flight, split or zigzag to chase targets. Phase through matter or other energy. Be controlled with pinpoint precision. He can spare things while hitting what he wants. Only a few beings, like Superman, Doomsday, have survived them, and even then, usually in severe pain. Mind, soul, and reality stuff. Telepathy and mind control. Can telepathically communicate, read minds, and in some stories exert large-scale control, especially when paired with anti-life. Matter and energy manipulation. Uses the Omega effect to warp matter, open boom tube portals, manipulate energy fields, and sometimes rewrite things on a molecular level. Dimensional travel. Freely moves through dimensions and universes, often via tech like boom tubes, but also through sheer power in some events. Anti-life equation. When he gets the anti-life equation, he can override free will on a massive scale, planets, entire populations, turn people into mindless slaves or fanatics that embody his will, rewrite minds and emotions, remove hope, induce despair, obedience, or nihilism. This is why he's more than just a bruiser. He's a philosophical threat. The idea that freedom itself can be mathematically disproven and deleted. Genius-level strategy and tech, Darkseid is a master tactician and manipulator. He prefers to work through agents, cults, like Intergang, and long-term schemes instead of just punching. Has access to Apokolipsian ultra-tech, parademon armies, hell spores, planet-killer bombs, soul furnaces, mother boxes, etc., uses science, sorcery, and god tech all at once. Major heiress that cranked his power up Kirby's Fourth World, 1970s, debuts in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 134, 1970, and Forever People number 1, 1971. Initially more of a behind-the-scenes cosmic tyrant, planning invasions and hunting for anti-life. Already extremely powerful, but not yet multiversal concept level. More a godlike space dictator. Post-crisis. Great Darkness Saga era. In the Great Darkness Saga, he mind controls an entire Kryptonian-level planet, Daxam, by moving the planet and putting its people under his thrall. Shows he can. Affect millions of Superman-tier beings at once. Wrestle with future-era cosmic forces. This era cements him as one of DC's absolute top-tier threats. Final Crisis Beyond. In Final Crisis, a dying, falling Darkseid corrupts reality itself. He possesses Dan Turpin's body, uses the anti-life equation to enslave most of Earth, creates a singularity that threatens all existence as he falls through the multiverse. This is where DC really leans into him as a cosmic principle of evil, not just a big villain. New 52, Rebirth. Darkseid, New 52, shown as a god-killer who fights the Anti-Monitor, Highfather, Zeus, etc., and can drain life force from old gods. At one point, he's killed and reborn as a baby in Rebirth, then grows back into a more dangerous form, showing his existence is cyclical and hard to truly end. True form and absolute. King Omega scale. Modern interpretations describe his true form as a being beyond the multiverse. Any Darkseid we meet is just an avatar or aspect. In current stuff like King Omega, Absolute Universe era, he reaches the kind of god-tier Kirby originally implied, threatening not just worlds but cosmology itself. Guardians of the Fandom. Why Darkseid is different from other big bads. Putting it together. Origin. He didn't just get lucky or find a weapon, he killed his own brother to steal a cosmic force and then murdered his way to a throne. Nature. He's a new god whose real self exists beyond reality, so killing him is like swatting an extension, not the core. Goal. Not destroy the universe, but rewrite it so no one can choose anything but him. Anti-life. Power. Omega effect plus anti-life plus millennia of conquest put him at the very top of DC's food chain. DC K.O. is DC Comics' big current event series, a massive superhero fighting tournament story running from late 2025 into 2026, centered on Darkseid and something called King Omega. Let's break it down. 1. What DC K.O. actually means. Title. DC K.O. is King Omega. Scott Snyder explained that the K.O. in the title secretly stands for King Omega, not just knockout, though it obviously plays on the fighting term too. Comic book click. It's both. A literal knockout-style tournament, brackets, eliminations, winners, losers, a story about who will become the King Omega, a being empowered with Omega energy strong enough to challenge Darkseid. 2. Basic premise of the event. Core idea: Darkseid has evolved into an even more powerful form and has destroyed the future of the DC universe. The only way the heroes can stop him is by participating in a brutal cosmic tournament he has set up. Key points. Publisher, DC Comics. Type of story, line-wide event, miniseries. Main creative team, writers, Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson. Art, primarily Javi Fernandez, with color art by Alejandro Sanchez on the main series. Format, a 5-issue miniseries, DC K.O. 1/5, with a prologue one-shot, Justice League, the Omega Act number 1, and various tie-ins reading order entries. Timeline, announced July 2025, around San Diego Comic-Con. Main series begins October 8, 2025, and runs into early 2026. The story set up Darkseid's new plan. Darkseid has wiped out the future of the DC universe. There is no hopeful timeline ahead because of what he's done. He reshapes Earth into a 5-level gladiatorial arena, basically turning the planet into a giant Mortal Kombat, Secret Wars-style battleground. The tournament rules, in-universe, 32 fighters, finalized roster, are chosen from across the DC universe, heavy-hitter heroes and villains alike. They battle in a bracketed knockout tournament, one-on-one bouts with some wild matchups. Each victory generates Omega energy. All that energy is used to create or empower King Omega, someone capable of actually facing Darkseid and potentially rewriting fate. The twist, every win helps Darkseid's hidden agenda at the same time, so even winning is dangerous. Key characters and matchups. The event is very Superman-centric, but uses most of the Justice League roster and more. Superman is a major focus character throughout the series. Examples of Round 1 fights that have been revealed: Superman vs. Giganta, Captain Atom vs. Power Girl Guy, Gardner vs. Firestorm, Jay Garrick vs. Cheetah Aquaman vs. King Shark, Connor Hawk vs. Hawkman, Lex Luthor vs. Black Lightning, the Demon, Etrigan, versus Supergirl Wonder Woman versus Starro, Jarro Lobo versus Plastic Man Swamp Thing versus Vixen Cyborg versus Batwoman, Batman versus Star Sapphire, Red Hood versus Damian Wayne, Zatanna versus Big Barda Harley Quinn versus Metamorpho. The full 32-fighter roster features many top-tier Justice League and associated characters, mixing heroes and villains in a way that forces them to fight each other, not just Darkseid. Where DC K.O. fits in the bigger DC continuity, it's part of the DC All-In or Absolute Universe era that DC kicked off with DC All-In Special Number 1, which introduced the Absolute Universe as a new status quo. DC K.O. is essentially Part 2 of that overarching story, with All-In being Part 1. A follow-up to prior big events like Absolute Power in the larger DC events timeline. If you want to read it in order, some guides lay out Justice League, the Omega Act number 1, prologue. DC K.O. number 1/5, main event. Any connected tie-ins mentioned in reading order checklists. The real-world side, bracket challenge, fan interaction. To lean into the tournament angle, DC set up an official DC K.O. bracket challenge where fans can fill out their own bracket predicting who will become King Omega. Website DC's official DC K.O. challenge lets you build your own bracket, follow along as each issue comes out, compare your predictions on a leaderboard. It runs across the whole event window, issues from October 2025 to around March 2026. How it's being described by Creators Press. Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson have pitched DC K.O. as a knockdown, drag-out fight between all your favorite DC superheroes in a cosmic tournament to save the universe from Darkseid. Something like Secret Wars meets Mortal Kombat, how a lot of commentary and fan discussion is framing it. Media and fan reactions. Some fans are hyped for pure spectacle and crazy matchups. Others are more skeptical, seeing it as just a big fight comic, though many reviewers say the Omega energy at King Omega angle adds stakes beyond simple fan service. Current status. As of December 7th, 2025, issues have started shipping. At least DC K.O. 1 or 2 are out, and the tournament is already eliminating big-name heroes and busting people's brackets. The full outcome, who actually becomes King Omega, what happens to Darkseid, what it means for the Absolute Universe, is still playing out in the remaining issues.